If you're already using tracking categories in Xero, then you've got a good handle on how different areas of your business are performing. But here's where it gets much more powerful. You can set a separate budget for each department or location, and then compare your actual figures against budget figures. And that's exactly what we're going to look at in this video, so stay with me. Hi, I'm John, and this is part 3 of our series on tracking categories. In previous videos, you've seen how to set up tracking categories, apply them to your transactions in Xero, and run some really useful reports. Now we're going to look at budgets, specifically how to create budgets in Xero. There are 3 ways to create budgets. The first is to enter your budget figures manually on the Budget Manager screen. The second is to copy and edit an existing budget, and the third is to import budgets from a CSV or Excel file. And we'll be looking at all 3 methods. So let's start with the manual approach. Go to Reporting and All Reports, and then scroll down and open the Budget Manager. Now under Select Budget at the top, you'll see there's an overall budget. You can have one overall budget, but as many additional budgets as you need. So here we'll click the drop down and add a new budget. Give this a name. So here we'll call this Sales, and the department is our Sales department. And save. So here's our sales budget. At the top, choose a start date and a period. So just to keep things simple, we'll be starting this budget in January 26, and we'll do the budget for 12 months. And select the number of actuals that you want to show. So the actuals show on the Budget Manager screen those white columns. They can be quite handy just to help you fill out the budget figures going forward. But to keep things nice and simple, I'll hide those and update. So we just enter our budget figures manually into these blue boxes. So for our sales consulting figure, I'm going to enter, let's say, 10,500. And you can apply a formula to that. So rather than filling out each column manually, you can click this green arrow and apply a formula to that amount. So we can apply a fixed amount to each month, we can adjust each month by a certain amount, and we can adjust by a certain percentage. So let's keep it simple. We'll apply the fixed amount each month, so my budget figures for sales consulting will be 10,500 and apply. And my project management figures, I think maybe about 7,500 per month. And my training sales figure, let's say 1,000 per month. So that's the same each month, but you can adjust particular months if needed. Let's say I know that December is typically a quieter month. We could adjust that budget figure, let's say 8,000 there and 6,500 there. And go through your remaining income and expense items to populate that budget. And once you've entered all your budget figures, make sure you click Save at the bottom to save that budget. So that's our sales department's budget done. Now let's create a budget for our admin department. Rather than starting from scratch as we did for sales, we can take that sales budget, copy it, and edit it. So next to sales, you'll see the edit option. Let's click that. We'll give this a new name. The department will be admin. And rather than clicking save, which would override the sales budget, click the drop down and save it as a copy. So a very important step. So we create a copy of that sales budget and we've saved it as an admin budget. So here's our admin budget. Now it's going to be a little bit different this. I don't need any budget figures for sales, and I want to enter some different figures for our overheads. And once you've entered all your budget figures, make sure you click Save. So that's a new budget for our admin department done. And this copy and edit approach is really useful beyond just tracking categories. Let's say you want to create next year's budget based on this year's. It's the fastest way to do it. Just copy this year's budget, rename it, and adjust the figures. Now let's have a look at importing a budget from a file. This is the quickest approach, especially if you've already got your budget figures in a spreadsheet. First, you need to create the empty budget in Xero. So under Select Budget, we'll add a new budget and give it a name. So this is going to be for my London location. So here I'll select London as my location and save. So this is an empty budget for London, and we can import that budget from a CSV or Excel file. Now, before you import a budget, I'd recommend downloading Xero's budget import template. When you click import, you can download Xero's budget template import here, and that will give you the exact format that your file needs to be in. You can see it uses the account name, followed by the account code in brackets, with months across the top. Now, my file is already in the correct format, so I'm just going to quickly browse to that file and bring it in. So here's my London budget and import. And confirm. And great, that's my London budget in, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing for my Manchester office. Oh, before I do that, just click Save. Make sure you've saved your budget. I always click Save. Let's create a new budget here. We'll call this Manchester. Filter by location. And again, we can import Manchester budget. And that's our budgets for London and Manchester imported. Something worth mentioning is that I've just imported budgets for 12 months, but you can import budgets for longer periods. So you could bring in 2 or 3 years worth of budgets at a time. So in your Excel file that you import, you just need a few more columns with extra data. Now that our budgets are in Xero, let's see them in action. So let's just double check we've got all the right budgets we need. Budgets for admin, sales, London, Manchester. Let's head over to reporting, all reports, and we'll scroll down again to the budget variance report. It's a really useful report. I recommend making this a favorite so you can access it from any screen within Xero. And here's our budget variance report. It defaults to the overall budget. Let me just minimize this panel. Let's choose a different budget. Let's have a look at our London location and update. And now we've got some really powerful information. We're looking at this month, our London actuals against budget. And then over towards the right hand side, we've got a year to date. And any favourable variances show with green arrows. So sales is better than expected, or expenses are lower than expected. That's a favourable variance. It's got a green arrow. Red variances give you adverse variances. So sales would be lower than expected, or costs would be higher than expected. And we can run this for different periods as well. Let's have a look at this quarter and update. And you start to get a feel of how well that department is doing, or that location, compared to budget. And let's check out our Manchester office as well. And we can see sales are up, but also costs are up for that particular location. So that's how to create and use budgets by tracking category in Xero, whether you're entering figures manually on the Budget Manager screen, copying an existing budget, or importing from a file. And combined with the reports that you saw in part 2, you've now got a complete picture of how each part of your business is performing against budget. In the next video in this series, we'll look at what to do if you've got historical transactions that are missing tracking categories, and how you can fix them in bulk using Xero's Find and Recode tool. I'll see you there.